Are you looking for the best external hard drives? In this video we will look at some of the 7 best external hard drives on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. WD Black SN770. If you want to put a bigger SSD in your laptop, all you need is a bare drive, which is generally cheaper than the drives with enclosures listed above. The first thing to figure out is which drive your PC uses. Consult your manufacturer's documentation to find out. In my experience, the most common form factor is M.2 2280, which is the long, thin drive in the image above. More compact laptops may use the similar, but shorter, M.2 2242 design. Again, check your PC to confirm the drive it needs before you buy. There are a ton of these on the market and I haven't had time to test many yet, but so far, out of the half dozen I have tried, Western Digital's WD Black series has stood out for speed, and it doesn't run very hot. The SN770 M.2 2280 achieved speeds of 5100 megabytes per second in my testing, which is blazing fast. If you're doing a lot of drive-intensive tasks, like editing video or gaming, this drive is well worth the money. The largest version you can get is 2 TB, but the price is reasonable considering the speed increase. I've been using it as my main drive for several months and found it fast enough for everything I do, including editing 5.2K video footage and compiling software. My favorite part? It generates very little heat. My older Dell XPS 13 used to get too hot to use without something between it and my lap. Now it doesn't get hot until I start trying to export video, but quickly cools off as soon as it's done. Number 2. Western Digital P40 Gaming Drive. Take this category with a grain of salt. Most of the drives here will work just fine for gaming, just stick with the fastest you can afford. That said, Western Digital's new P40 does have some cool RGB lights on the bottom if that's your jam. In my testing, that didn't seem to impact power consumption. As for speed, my tests were inconsistent. This drive is capable of speeds that handily beat both the Envoy Pro and Samsung T7, but at other times seem to bog down, at least in benchmarks. In real-world use, the bottleneck I consistently hit was some lag in transferring huge amounts of data. That might be a deal breaker for some, but for the price, it remains a solid choice. Number 3. LaCie Rugged SSD. The Go Anywhere drives above are a solid solution for people who need to make backups in the field, like photographers and videographers. But if you want an extra level of comfort, this padded drive from LaCie has long been a favorite of travelers. LaCie makes both an SSD version and a traditional spinning drive version. If speed isn't an issue, as with making nightly backups, then the cheaper spinning drive makes more sense. If you're backing up in the middle of a photo shoot or similar situation where it needs to happen fast, the SSD version is what you want. Number 4. OWC Envoy Pro Electron SSD. If you need a drive that can stand up to life in a backpack or camera bag, get wet, or handle a drop onto hard surfaces, OWC drives are your best choice. It's tough to pick a winner here because there are many solid options, but OWC's Electron drive narrowly beat others in benchmark tests. I also like that you can swap out the drive inside the aluminum casing. It's easy to unscrew, which means 2 years from now, you can pick up a faster bare SSD and drop it in the hardy Electron enclosure. If you want a larger drive, both physically and in terms of storage capacity, OWC's Envoy Pro FX, $256 for 1 TB, is a great choice as well. It's even faster and comes in sizes up to 4 TB, though the latter will set you back $480. The 2 TB model is plenty for most, though still pricey. It's IP67 rated and reasonably drop-proof. Take all claims of military standard with a grain of salt. No companies are doing independent tests, which is not to pick on OWC, as every rugged drive maker claims things like this. What impressed me the most about this drive, though, is its incredibly cool operating temperature even under a heavy load, like editing 4K video footage straight from the drive. Number 5. SanDisk Extreme Portable SSD. This portable drive from SanDisk trounces everything else I've tested in terms of speed. It's lightweight, with an IP22 rated enclosure so it'll stand up to life on the go. It's not the cheapest drive, but if you're backing up in the field and want to get it done as fast as possible, it's your best bet. It's less compact than some of these drives, but I like that, as it makes it easier to keep track of in my bag. The data transfer speeds in my testing never hit the claimed 1050 MB/s read and 1000 MB/s write speeds, but they got close 980 MB/s read and 918 MB/s write. That assumes you have USB-C version 3.0 ports. While this, and most other drives, are backward compatible with USB-C 2.0, that protocol has lower max speeds. Check your laptop's specifications to see what USB-C version your laptop uses. I've used this drive to make weekly backups for almost 2 years and have had no issues. That said, our friends at Ars Tech NICA, and other users around the web, have noted extremely high failure rates with this drive, mainly with the 2 and 4 terabyte versions. SanDisk has issued a firmware update, which seems to fix the problem, but let this be a reminder that you should always have 3 backups, on 2 different media, with 1 offsite. See our guide How to Back Up Your Digital Life for more backup tips. Number 6. Crucial X6 Portable SSD. These Crucial drives are my favorite general-purpose external storage drives. They're reasonably priced, for a portable SSD, and speedy enough for most uses. The Crucial X9 is a step up from the X6, both in terms of build quality, it's metal to the X6 plastic, and speed, but the X9 is considerably more expensive. The X6 is lightweight and tiny, making it a good choice for working at the coffee shop. This isn't a blinding fast hard disk. In fact, under the hood, the X6 uses an older drive interface, serial add attachment, or SATA, which was more common with spinning hard drives. So while it's small and light, its speed is limited by that older interface technology. In my testing on Windows and Mac OS, that works out to about 550 megabytes per second read speed and 208 megabytes per second write speeds. That's good enough for backup and use as an external drive, but I don't recommend it for Xbox or PlayStation use. It does work fine with the iPad Pro though. Unfortunately, the only connector included is a USB-C cord. If your laptop only has USB-A ports, you'll need an adapter for $10. Another downside is the plastic construction. It's a portable hard drive, not an indestructible hard drive. If you're worried about it breaking in your bag, grab a padded case. There are plenty out there like this one. Number 7. Western Digital Elements Desktop Hard Drive. For incremental backups, which we recommend, speed isn't a huge factor. That's why the first drive I recommend is this Western Digital Elements hard drive. I have been using a variation of the Elements desktop hard drive to make incremental backups of my data for more than a decade now. These drives are big and require external power, but they're some of the cheapest, most reliable drives I've used. Transfer speeds are not off the charts. The Elements drive I tested scored 120 megabytes per second for sequential writes on Windows, but again, you should ideally be running backups overnight anyway, and even at these speeds the average PC backup will be done by morning. These drives use USB-C with support for USB 3, and I've had no problem using them with Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Storage options go all the way up to 20 terabytes. Just check the prices. Sometimes you can get a 10 or even 12 terabyte drive for not much more than the 8 terabyte version. and I have not seen a huge difference between the Elements line, the WD My Book drives, or the WD My Passport drives. The My Passport drives command a premium price because they're smaller, and the My Book drives have some encryption features that drive up the price, but I find the basic Elements drive is sufficient for most people.